Welcome back to Leicester City Down Under. I'm Luke. How you going, everyone? First of all, quickly before I bring my guests in, I just want to say thank you. I just hit 100 subscribers. I really appreciate that, and that means the world to me. So, yeah, awesome. I'm really happy, and just going to keep on pressing forward and try and upgrade the quality of the content I'm putting out. Let's get in Chris, LTID TV, and we've got my main man here, Anil, ready to drop some knowledge for everybody. How you guys going, all right?
Very good, thank you. Congratulations on the 100.
Thanks, mate. I know it's small, but to me it's big.
100 not
I've
out.
heard that before.
Aussies and centuries happens a lot. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
We've all got to start. We've all got to start somewhere.
We've all got to start.
Can I just say, listening to your intro there, of course, 5 years ago today, it was the helicopter crash. So RIP to Vichai, who's basically transformed this club, but also everybody else that was that passed away as well. So RIP to them all today.
Rest in peace to them. All right, guys. So just wanted to briefly just touch on Sunderland. I quite enjoyed the game, and also shout out to Chris's t-shirt. He's trying to get in my good books before he comes out here. Sunderland, I thought it was a good game, and I know a lot of people think we played a bit poorly in the second half, and some think that we were lucky to not draw or lose. But to me, it showed a character, and to be able to persevere and not concede a goal. We still kept a clean sheet. I actually quite enjoyed the game. And Neil, I don't know how you thought about it, but I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was good. I don't think it's fair to say we were lucky or anything like that, because if you look at the stats as well, like we won like the XG race, all the underlying data says we were the better team. I think it's more that the games before that we really kind of dominated the opposition. Like it felt that like we were starting to become this unstoppable force. That's the first time where I felt in a game you could see some vulnerabilities. Other teams, I think, will think, oh, you know what? Even though they're a good team, there is a way you maybe can get after them and cause them some problems. So I think that's really what it comes down to. You know, I mean, they were really impressive. I was on Beyond the 90 and we gave our kind of analysis on it. I think they were impressive, Sunderland, but ultimately, did they make like a clear-cut clinical chance in the game? I mean, they should have had a penalty, to be fair. So I think we got to call it, a spade a spade. Although I think we should have got a penalty, to be honest with you. So there you go. Yes. But I think that other than that, it's not like they had like a one-on-one and they should have scored kind of thing. Whereas conversely, their keeper played a blinder, made 2 amazing saves. Castay could have scored another one himself. So, we could have easily, if we'd have taken one of those chances early on in the second half, we'd probably blown past them a bit more kind of thing. So, look, I think we can say they're an impressive team. As you said, I really enjoyed the game too, because it reminded me of a Premier League game. I think, when we're playing these teams that park the bus, it's just, is it even fun for their team and their supporters, right? To just be under the cosh for 80 minutes and just hitting and hoping that something's going to happen. When you go for it like Sunderland, or even earlier in the season when we played, Huddersfield and Neil Warnock was in charge, they had a go. Fair play to them, right? So they were unlucky not to get something. So yeah, I think for that reason it was a good game. We definitely played good. It wasn't the best we've played all season, but we still played more than well enough to win. Who knows? Maybe they got back into it, we'd have raised our gears again. So yeah, it was good for sure. But I think my one word of caution is I think a team like Leeds and or Ipswich will look at that and they'll think, okay, maybe even Middlesbrough, who, by the way, have also kind of creeping up under the radar, won 6 in a row now. And they might have teams that are capable of actually taking and going a bit further with it and causing us some damage. But yeah, good to see what it's like for us when we're up against another team that's willing to battle us. And we got through it, which is the most important thing.
Nice one, I know exactly, mate. And what's more important as well, that we didn't panic when they started to press us as well and just completely collapse and fall apart. And that's what I mean by test of character. Chris, how did you feel about the match? Were you happy? Were you feeling confident?
I was happy with the 3 points. And I think that's the toughest, in my opinion, that's the toughest game we've had all season. And I include the Hull defeat in that. Anil said about, the Ipswiches and the Leeds and, on paper, yeah, they would look like tough games. But, we've played we played the Southamptons. We played Preston, who had been top, and weren't they awful? How the hell Gay got top, I don't know. But they were the first team, really, like Anil said, that actually came and fought us. It was a test for us, and we passed. all right, it wasn't a 3-0, wasn't a 4-0, but it's 3 points at the end of the season. At the end of the match, we're still going to get 3 points. I've actually got Sunderland to finish second and get promoted with us. So, to me, to get 3 points off them, I was very happy and relieved a little bit when the final whistle went.
Yes, relieved. I was a little bit relieved as well, and then I just crashed out hard. It was early for me. But for me, I've actually got Sunderland as well, but I've got Leeds and Leicester and Sunderland to go up. But something I want to talk about is get into the potential lineup potentially soon. But I think something to mention is I believe it's Harry Winks and also Keenan Dewsbury-Hall. I think are on 4 yellow cards each. So I don't think we could. I can see Keenan Dewsbury-Hall possibly playing, but Winks, I can't see Maresca wanting to risk playing him and getting another yellow card and being out for the Leeds game. So it'll be interesting to see. I was expecting, quite a bit of rotation for. I'm sorry, but all due respect to QPR, one of the lower bottom, they're not doing so well. But I actually expected to see quite a shake-up. But now I'm very curious to see the lineup. How do you think, Anil? Who do you think comes in if Winks is to be replaced? Because we've seen Chowdhury, using a lot of different positions in the middle as a back three. I was actually quite torn where to put him. I have got him in my starting 11 that I'll share in a second. But how much of a rotation are you expecting to see in the team?
Yeah, heavy rotation. I think we looked very leggy in that game against Sunderland. I think especially when they made 3 subs in the 60th minute, they completely caught the game again and started putting us in the high press. So it's time for a rest for some of these players. You're quite right. I think Leeds is a really important game. Hopefully we win it. But even if it's just a draw, it just maintains a huge gap. And, we in Ipswich are in this really fortunate position now. We actually don't even need to be as good as we've been. I feel it's like if we average kind of 2.1 points per game, at the moment we're averaging like 2.8 or something insane like that, then we'll go up. So, just maintaining it is important. I think you're right. I think Hamza will come in for sure. I will say, maybe the one thing here is that, so QPR, how do they play and what they've been doing? So they had an awful game midweek. They only had 1 shot in the entire match and it wasn't even on target. Their fans are really, really upset. Just so you know, we probably, take this for granted because we were in the Premier League last year. But this time last season, believe it or not, QPR were top of the championship with Michael Beale in charge. And then what happened is Steven Gerrard, and the Rangers, they lost their manager. So Mick Beale went up there. QPR then took on Mark Warburton. It started falling apart a little bit. And then they brought in club legend Gareth Ainsworth. And he's doing his best to completely ruin his reputation there in just a few months. So at midweek, they played 5-4-1, completely defensive block, didn't really do anything at all. I think, therefore, it's inevitable they're going to try and do the same thing. I don't think they're brave or stupid enough to try and attack Leicester with their current form. So I do think Hamza will come in, but what I guess I'm saying is that this might be a game where it is, again, about being patient and trying to be creative, which is Harry Winks' advantage, right? He's not a ball winner per se, but he also starts a lot of the moves and getting involved. In the last couple of games, I don't know if you noticed, he started having more and more shots as well. And when he scores his first goal for the club, the fans will be over the moon because he's one of the contenders for our player of the season at the moment. But I think Hamza will start, yeah. Go on, yeah.
Sorry, man. I didn't think me to talk over you. I was going to actually say that the whole Chris. And just quickly, I know, Harry Winks has been starting to fire up for quite a lot of shots more the last few games. You can see he's hungry for it and he wants that goal, and I can't wait till he gets it because it will do him even more confidence. But Chris, I came on your show at halftime and I was saying, I think we're going to gas them. Because we've been doing it to a lot of opposition, right? And then, as you were saying before, Neil, I thought actually we looked a bit gassed, and then they made the 3 subs, and that threw my what I thought was going to happen at the window. But what was interesting was the usual subs and rotations we normally make were actually kind of unavailable. Usually we see Cassidy come on for Ndidi, or Yunus Akgun coming on the wing. We actually saw Kevin O'Brighton coming on this time for I think it was for Fatawu. So it's great to have this depth, but it was not our usual subs we normally make. It was actually the one time where I thought we could have made subs a bit sooner other than Vardy.
Yeah, we've got to be careful that we're not just looking out for things to moan about because, at the end of the day, we still got the win. We still got the 3 points. Just to take a Neil to task there. I mean, I think you'll find Vestergaard's the player of the season so far, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't agree with bringing Hamza in. I've got to be honest with you. I think Cassidy just start again, because I think he's the one that struggled out of all the new signings. When I say struggled, that's probably a little bit unfair. I think he's been unfortunate because every other player has come over and slotted in and playing to what we want. Usually it takes sort of, a couple of months for them to get used to the club and to play, get used to the teammates and the formation and the style. Maybe that was good because we, got the transfer business done early in the season. But having had what, in my opinion, was player of the match against Sunderland, I think it'd be a mistake to drop him because he's taken that bit longer to hit the sort of the form we saw in that match. I think you give him another go. There's no Ndidi because of injury, so he's not in there anyway. But I've also got to say, look, we're Leicester City. If we're going to lose another game, this is going to be the one against the QPR side. I mean, I've got a QPR fan coming on the preview show tonight at 7. And his quote when I was speaking to him the other day is, there's nothing really to enjoy about QPR at the moment. I mean, everything is going boobs up, isn't it? And that Leicester, that's the sort of game we'll go and lose. So, but the good news is that if we do lose it, if it does all go wrong, we're still going to be top of the league.
That's it, and comfortably, and it would be so typical Leicester to just lose to QPR. It would be 100%. Look, I'll put this could be way off, by the way. This is just me being just curious, but this is the starting 11 roughly I think we might see. I don't know how well you can see that, but I've got obviously Mads in goal. I'm expecting Connor Cody to come in the middle, but what's interesting, I could be way off for this, is Connor Cody and Winks both out. Could be a big, for controlling the ball and that one-touch passing and distribution from the back. So I could be way off of that, but I've got Connor Cody in the middle, Sutar on the right to give Faze a rest, James Justin, Ricardo is at inverted wing back, and I've got Chowdhury in Winks' role. I almost was tempted to put him where James is James Justin, and then you've got Cassidy as your high pressing 8, and then you've got Keenan Dewsbury Hall, Mavididi, Vardy, and McAteer, who I believe is back available. So that's roughly my starting 11. I don't know if you've got one generated that you would want to put up, Anil, but what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think that's quite similar to what I would expect, to be honest with you. I don't think Casey McAteer will be available. I know he started to train, but they won't put him back right away if he's only started to train. So that's most likely going to be Yunus Akgun. If he's unavailable, be Mark Albright, and I think he will play in the team. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel that, as Chris has been, Cassidy keeps his place, but I think he will keep KDH on. I would only expect to see him for 60 minutes, though. He doesn't want to risk the yellow card, right? For me, KDH is the player of the season at the moment in the entire division, actually. I think, Chowdhury will come in for Wings, although it wouldn't surprise me if he second guesses us on that. But I think that's what he'll do. He'll reserve him. And you mentioned Vestergaard being one of our best players. So that's another reason why I think he would probably prefer him to play for the Leeds game. So those two get given a rest. The other ones, as you say, I think for Tau, even though I think he's had really good last couple of games, I think he's due a little bit of a rest. He looked a bit tired. He was withdrawn a bit early. And I actually think Suter will play for the reasons kind of you described. I also think as well that, so how do we think this game's going to go? As I say, if they're going to play 5-4-1, I think this is going to be like the Preston and Stoke games, but unusually away from home, which is not normally the case, right? Normally when we play away from home, even if it's a lower placed team like Rotherham or something like that, they'll still have a go. But this time around, I don't think they'll do. Because to be honest with you, I've got a feeling they're going to sack Gareth Ainsworth after tomorrow's match. And I think the reason they haven't done it now is because they're like, well, do you really want to give a new manager or even an interim manager a loss for your first game? It's a bit unfair, right? So a lot of teams in the Premier League would do this as well. They'd wait for the Man City game to go or Liverpool, and then they'd sack their manager and bring someone else in. So I've got a feeling that may well happen. So if that's the case, again, you don't need to have maybe Face is got a good pace. They do have a player called Sinclair Armstrong, who is their striker, who is quite quick. I have seen him score actually a goal on the counter, but I think JJ's enough to handle it. So I think I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is quite close to what we're going to see. But Enzo always keeps us guessing, so in a good way. So let's see what. I mean, the one thing I'd call out, obviously, with doing that is quite a lot of changes. And normally when you make that many changes, you can lose a lot of fluency in the team. So that's the one thing to watch out for. That said, I think Enzo likes that in some ways, right? Because the thing is that that's going to happen regardless. You don't want to overly rely on the same players over and over again. So with Leicester, you can put out a team, and if like after 45 minutes it's a disjointed performance, everyone's moaning and it's like we're not really at it, well then he just puts on his big guns and try to win the game, right, and win it in the second half. So for that reason, I think he can afford to maybe be a bit riskier and see how it goes. That's if we expect them to sit back and just defend deep, and to be honest with you, that is my expectation for how the game's going to go.
I 100% Anil. And at what point, though, Chris, do we see Connor Cody break into the team? I know Vestergaard's done a really good job and he's really been brilliant turnaround season. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud again. But at some point, I feel kind of almost...
And he's a goal scorer as well. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, he's Danish crown jewels slotted in the back of the net. It's just, I know football is ruthless, but I feel guilty for Connor Cody, and he has to come in at some point, Chris. But for me, I think Cassidy also really grew into that game last week. And I think, if they are to play a back five, I think him arriving late, always in the box, this could be the game for him to have a bit of a breakout game. This game, I think, will possibly suit Cassidy quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Cassidy, he starts for me. Chowdhury, I've got to be honest with you, I'm just looking. We're going to struggle to actually, if we don't play Chowdhury, who the hell else do we play in that role? You could even, I mean, look, this is QPR. On paper, this is the game that we should get 6-7. But, well, no, this is Leicester, so we might not. We might even see Daka on the wing. You don't know. He might just say, for God's sake, Daka, prove that you can do it against QPR. Because if you can't do it against QPR at the moment, then, we will shift you out in January. I like to see there's someone biased, player choice with you there with Sutar getting into the team. But I've got to be honest with you. Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong in the 2 games that he played. I thought he played really, really well. No reason why he shouldn't be. Cody, I can't believe he's not been picked. I think we all thought that once Cody was fit, that is it. We wouldn't see Vestergaard again. And yet there he is. So I don't know. Vestergaard's not on a yellow card, as in he's not, he's had a ban. So, he's all right for a couple more yellow cards at the moment.
I'm not sure that's true. I think he's still on that amount, is he not? No, you're right. He did. He served a suspension. Sorry.
Yes. I nearly thought the same thing too. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, he served a suspension. Yeah.
I just think if you're going to mess about and change any part of the team, the one that you don't do it with is the defence. I think, you can maybe, play around with the midfield a little bit between games, play around with the attack. But I think your defence and goalkeeper, for me, that's the engine room of the team, if you like. And they've got to get to know each other, because and we've seen misplaced passes this season. But I think that's the one that you don't really mess about with unless you have to.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see, if what's he called, Doyle hadn't been injured, I don't think we'd have seen Justin.
Really?
Yeah, because he prefers Doyle. He's left-footed, so he's the back of he's on the left of the back three. So that's he's ideal for that position. Justin came in when he was injured. Yes, he's done well, but had Doyle not been injured, would Justin have got that start? I don't think he necessarily would have done.
Anil, I think with the championship, we definitely would have seen, he could see that Doyle was definitely favoured early, but I think James Justin would have had to have been rotated in at some points of the games or even Caribou Cups. But for me, he's the one that I was actually most surprised that he stayed, because only over a year ago, he was making the England squad. He was one of the first people I expected to get picked up, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, mate. I'm thinking, I know it's getting a bit ahead of herself, but it'll come quick. January, we're hearing rumours of Kalechi and Nacho, and we're hearing rumours of, Wilfred and Didi. We cannot let any other players go out for free, and we are separating ourselves quite a lot from third and the rest of the division. I actually can see that. I don't think this rebuild's finished yet, man. I actually think we've got a lot to do in January, getting ready for when we go back up. First time of asking.
It's definitely possible. Leicester, as we've said before, they don't often do that much business in January. Last year actually was quite unusual that we made so many signings, and that was a nod to the fact that we were desperate. We could see ourselves going down, and unfortunately, all of those signings really were a bust, to be honest with you. The fact that we've only got one of them still here and he's not in the first team kind of says that. So you could be right. The money's probably there. I think if there's a good signing, they'll probably go for it. I think the nice thing is we don't have to sign someone, right? We signed a striker in Tom Cannon who's not played a single game yet. We've got also players returning. So I don't know if you know this, but Will Alves has actually recovered from his ACL and he's now training with the first team. So I will put money on him getting some minutes by the end of next month for sure. Probably only be used for like 10 minutes at a time at the end of the game. And, I think he's a player that a lot of fans are some of the most excited to see because by all accounts, he's old fashioned, George Best style, maverick flair, dribbles too much, loses it, but then sometimes dribbles past 5 players and slots it. And in a division like this, that could be really exciting to see where he goes. Sammy Braybrook is also so a lot of people have said, well, who's going to play the Harry Winks position? And a lot of people have speculated this because he will be tried there and given the rest of the season to see if he can do that role. If he can't, then I think we sign someone in the summer. Otherwise, they'll go with him. And one of the reasons we went for Enzo Maresca is he works with the Manchester City Premier League 2 team, right, and won it with them, their academy team. So that's literally the whole point. We're trying to set up a conveyor belt like all the top teams do, where you don't have to always go and sign players. Sure, we're always going to get a few and you're going to need a few marquee signings, but as much as possible, I've stated as well many times, I'd rather have the academy players because they have grown up with the club and they'll have feelings for it. They're not just going to down tools and go as soon as another offer comes in. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, I think if he really wanted to, he could kick up a stink and force a transfer out of the club, right? But he won't do that because even though he's sacrificing a year of his career, he is a Leicester fan. He's been with us, the Shepshed Dynamo, and he wants to, be in our good books. And I rate that. That's what's important to have those players. So, yeah, we could see them. I mean, yeah, you're right. There could be some business, but I think it'll be more opportunistic rather than forced. The only time I can see there being a forced signing is if we got like a really big injury. Right. So actually, let's say Yannick Vestergaard was out for the rest of the season. I think you would see a replacement coming in that position. Same with Outfast. Same even with JJ because Callum Doyle's out, something like that. Ricardo, another one like that. You could see that. But I think they'll wait for the summer for the big ones. But I will say that, the one thing to take into account is that with financial fair play, sometimes it is better to stagger your signings out over a bit of a period. Because what will happen with Leicester, especially last season, is that we basically couldn't make too many signings because we were hampered. It all relied on Yuri Tielemans being sold, which he wasn't. And then finally, when Fofana went, there was money available, but there was 2 days left of the window and you have to pay extortionate prices at that point in time. And I would really say that was the decision. Well, that and not sacking Brendan Rodgers fast enough cost us it. But, whoever would have come in wouldn't have had a great squad at that point in time. So this time round, maybe, rather than just waiting for that to happen again, because otherwise that's what's likely going to happen. We'll probably spend a ton in the summer, have a really good squad for 2 or 3 seasons, and then probably later down the line, we're going to have another window where can't sign anyone. And everyone in as soon as September starts, going to be like, let's cross that bridge when we get there. But maybe 1 or 2, but I don't think it's going to be as big as you think unless there's a big injury.
Can I just take point with you on that one, Anil? You say sacrificed a year of his career by staying. Do you think he's really done that? I mean, if he comes away with a championship medal at the end of the season, that's a medal he's got. That's one more than Kane's got in our league. I don't necessarily think that he's sacrificed that. And I think
I would argue that because the thing is a footballer, your career is short, and he already.
So what does he do? What Yuri Tielemans did, go to Aston Villa and probably not win anything. I mean, he's not. He may not get an offer. Let's be honest with you, because if he was going to get an offer from one of the so-called big 6, would have had one because of this. He was quite in what was a bad bunch, a standout last season. So it might not be one of the big boys that comes in for him. Is he going to be any better off by jumping ship with us and going to a mid-lower Premier League team?
Maybe not, but I'm just saying if you're a professional footballer, every year is precious. And like I said, he didn't make his Premier League debut till he was quite old. Like Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, I think, is 25 already. So, he's not a young player anymore. You're running out of time in order to do that. yeah, Yuri Tielemans, for as much as we dislike him for what he did, he's still in the Belgium squad. He just played for Villa last night in the European club competition, so not just Premier League. And Aston Villa are riding high, and he's on good wages, plus probably a monster signing on fee, which is another big thing to do it, right?
Well, that was only because he did the shit on us, didn't he?
Of course.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
KDH could do the same, right? I mean, allegedly, we did have a bid coming from Fulham for him, and that was part of this João Palhinha chain that kind of forced its way down. But he did want to stay with Leicester, which is admirable to see. Look, like, that's the reason why we like him. But
I'm saying, like, what would he have gained at Fulham?
well, a paycheck, a paycheck, and perhaps he could force his way into the England squad, which we're not going to do in the Championship.
Than we could have offered him.
Ifs and buts, but I'm saying there is one big thing. It's a European competition for the national team at the end of the season, and it's very rare for someone in the Championship to get called up. Although he may be, funny enough,
somebody in a Leicester shirt to get picked, as in Maddison. As soon as he puts a white shirt in, he's in the team squad every time.
Well, that's not true, because he was left out of the World Cup, but post World Cup, James Maddison was in the team, and that was starting to be used by Gareth Southgate. I'm not. That's not subjective. That's a fact. You can look at the games. You can look at Chris. You can look at the games. He was literally being used. So I think again, a lot of people sometimes have blue tinted glasses. Like Harry Maguire was playing in the England team when he was a Leicester player, and he went to Man United and he continued his form there. Look, don't get me wrong, I don't think Gareth Southgate is the greatest manager in the world, but I don't think it's completely fair to say that. Maybe you could say Harvey Barnes, but he did get a cap at least under Gareth Southgate and so forth. Yeah. But look, I'm glad KDH has stayed, and I think you're right. Just to play, I don't want to sound like a complete dick here. I think you are right to say that it'd be better off for his career to stay rather than being labelled a Judas, and he'll be much more in favour with us. And yeah, I think if he was going to push for a move, he should be pushing for a move to a Liverpool or something like that, not Fulham. That's what he should, and that's what he has to gain by going here and staying in this division with us, especially under an excellent man manager like Maresca, because you can clearly see already that he's improved an element of his game that was lacking last season, which is so much better in the attacking third. And I think we all think there's a lot more to come from him. I personally do as well. And I'm quite excited for what he's going to be like next season when he's had, a year of learning this position. But yeah, I'm just saying, equally, if you were the agent and you said, but money, I could also understand why you would, you might want to force me.
Hey, football is all about opinions. But Luke, I think one of yours was wrong as well. No, it's not.
What's that?
One of yours, I disagree with you on about, we don't want to risk losing players for free. So you got like Iheanacho and you've got and Vestergaard being the two. What would we get more money for if we sell Iheanacho? What might we get for him? 10 million, 12 million? He's a Championship player. If he stays and we risk losing him on free at the end of the season, how much will we get if we go back up to the Premier League?
Right, now that's a good question.
You have to.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll tell you. So. First of all, just to answer Neil first about Keenan Dewsbury Hall, I do see what you're saying, mate. Like, he is not young anymore, and like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you could understand why he dropped down to the Championship. But at his age now, yes, and I definitely think he could have got a move, mate. But he might have been considered a squad player, and it is easy to say in hindsight now it was better for his career because we've seen how he's developed, like you just said, under Enzo. Whereas before the season started, not everyone had that opinion about Enzo. It was a risk, it was a gamble. And Chris, as for Kelechi Iheanacho, the reason why I don't want to sell him, I would love for him to re-sign and I'd love for him to stay. But the biggest statement is how many years, I think it was 5 years we signed Tom Cannon for. When we've got Jamie Vardy and Kelechi Iheanacho and Daka, and don't forget how much we paid for Daka as well, all in the squad, and we've made a signing like that, that's a statement that we're ready if one of those strikers leaves, which is inevitable with Jamie Vardy and his age. I don't think he gets another year. You can see how he's reacting. So, look, trust me, I would love Kelechi to stay, but with where we are at points-wise, and also, again, I do think that we should be, the way Kelechi plays definitely suits how Enzo wants us to play, and we should build a team around him. But if he is to go, and if he's not going to sign come January, and we haven't got him signed, I think we move him on. I know that's controversial, and we yet to even see Cannon play. He might not even hit the ground running, but every player that we've signed or got on loan so far has a certain position and a role, and they've hit the ground running. And I have faith in Tom Cannon if he's like any of the rest of the players that we've signed.
Fine. Well, like I say, I don't agree, but I'm not saying, it's about...
No, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. If it wasn't for the signing that we made for in the length with Cannon, I would
that's a
want to
weird
keep
one for
Kelechi.
me, but we'll see when
It
you.
is, but think about the statement that we as well. Like before we even signed Mads Hermansen, I was like, look how many goalkeepers we've already got. I thought that Everson wasn't that bad. You know, he's not that great with his feet, and that's clearly what Enzo wants. You know, but like the second that we signed Mads Hermansen, that was when I was like, oh, that's a statement. And I think it's a little bit of a statement with Tom Cannon as well. But I could be wrong, mate. And I hope Kelechi stays. And
I think this time 12 months ago we weren't having this conversation, were we? Because we hadn't signed anybody.
no, we had. I think we signed Sideshow Bob, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then we had the busy January. But look, guys, just what score prediction are you guys going for tomorrow?
I'm going to be optimistic and go for 4-0. I think we'll hammer them. I actually think we may not even score in the first half, but I think as soon as we do, because the thing is that the fans are most likely going to turn on a manager there as well. And I mean, they might not even. It might be one of those weird games where fans don't even mind losing, because if it gets rid of the manager, like their season isn't going to be defined by games against us. It's going to be defined against other teams in the bottom 6 to 8. They're the ones that they now, quite frankly, have to win, because there's already a gap starting to open up. You know, players might down tools, etc., just to force the issue. Because again, there's a lot of speculation. Happy, and just so you know, I believe they don't have any fit centre backs to play tomorrow, because Jake Clark-Salter got sent off midweek and the other one got taken off injured. So, you know.
4-0. I'm expecting a slaughter. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say 5-0. Chris, what have you got?
Well, I was going to go 5-0, but then Brad's gone 5-0 in the prediction league. He's absolutely useless at guessing the scores. I think if we do score early on, it could literally be embarrassing. We could literally, and I've got to actually balance this out with saying what I said earlier, that it's QPR and it would be typical of Leicester to go out and lose this. But if we score within the first 10 minutes, could you not see another 9-0 on the cards there?
Ooh, we've been saying for a while someone's going to get an absolute spanking soon, and it's got to happen if there's any time to happen. It depends on how different the team shapes up.
The only thing about like huge score lines like that is I feel that's less likely with a team that completely parks the bus. So like the reason we got 9-0 against Southampton is they had the man sent off, but they were still trying to play a high press with 10 men against a team that had fast forwards and Jamie Vardy in peak form up front, which is as stupid as it sounds, right? And the fact that team got done 9-0 again 2 seasons later probably says a lot about why Hasenhüttl isn't no longer the manager there. Whereas, you know, as we found in many games, we can dominate the entire game, but if there's literally 9 men across the goal, you know, it's a challenge to put it in the back of the net. So I think it's still a lot to say we can put 4 or 5 past them, although I think we definitely can. But look, I hope so. I'd love to see it for sure.
I would say in that they've got out of the previous 18 points, they've got 1.
Wow, I didn't realize it was quite that horrendous one.
Yeah,
that's rough.
I think if they go, like I say, if we get an early goal, and there's no saying we will, because they are, I think, you know, you're going to say, although they're at home, if they can get a point off us, psychologically, that would be such a boost for them. But if we can somehow get an early goal, I think their heads will drop, the crowd will get on the backs, and I think it's just downhill from then on. All right, no, yeah, it's not. I'm being a little bit in fantasy land with 9-0. I grant you. I'm going to go 6. I'm going to be reasonably. Keep my feet on the ground. But if it is 9-0, don't say I didn't tell you.
Then, nice.
And I would have gone 5, but I can't agree with Brad. I'm sorry.
I think I'm just having a look here, guys. QPR has not won a game since 2nd of September against Middlesbrough.
They've also got a horrendous home record. This is why their fans are even more upset. I don't think they've seen them win at their own ground for something like 8 to 9 months, which is crazy, right? I mean, to be fair, we had a bit of that feeling last season too. Yeah. But that's one of the worst possible things where you're not even putting up results in your own, and again, that's because they don't really have a good way of breaking teams down. So when they play away, it actually suits them a bit more because teams are going to come at them. But, you know, in the Championship versus Championship, that's why, ironically, it might suit them a little bit that they have a team that's going to come onto them. But, you know, they're not ready for let's be honest, like Leicester, but even when we got relegated, our average league position in the Premier League during that spell was 8th. So it is essentially a top 10 Premier League team in the Championship, and that's why the points are so ridiculous.
It is 100%. That is literally what it's starting to look like. And that is why I enjoyed the Sunderland game, because we do need someone to give us a little bit of adversity, because we don't want to get a cold reality check, like I think we're a lot different to Burnley, but they are, a cold reminder of, it might not all be sunshine and rainbows when we go up. So that's why I hope that we start to build a little bit earlier, a little bit more in January. But Chris, what do you got here?
Let me just show you that. Yeah, I was just having a play around. After 13 games last season, Burnley had 22 points. They were 4th, and they finished with 101. At the same time, we've got 36 points, and we're 1st. But we should also consider Burnley as the warning, because look how they're struggling this season.
Do you know what? On Burnley, because I've been mentioning this a lot of times in a lot of the kind of fan channels, I've done a lot of research into them to see what's going on there. And what is interesting is they have actually changed their tactical setup and their way of play, which is a bit weird if you think about it, why they would do that. And their fans are saying they're not really sure what Vincent Kompany's doing in that respect. Like, is it naivety that he's gone away from everything that they were good at? And yeah, they're quite concerned about that. I also think they missed out on some signings. So Taylor Howard-Bellis was in their team, didn't sign for them. And who was it? There was one other player that they had on loan, Nathan Teller, that's it, who Bayer Leverkusen have signed, went with Shabbat. They just won 5-1 in the Europa League last night. So they missed 2 of their key players last. So that obviously didn't help. But look, that could happen to us. We have got players on loan. Callum Doyle, Fatawu, Yunus Akgun, Casadei. So if some of these end up being major players and we don't retain them, and yada. So we definitely need to keep an eye on it.
Somebody like Fatawu, we've got an option to buy. Do you, if he keeps this form up in January, just say bugger it, we're not waiting, and sign him up?
Yeah, I've made that argument before. Personally, I would do it. Him especially. The others maybe not yet. They've got something more to prove. I've got a feeling if Callum Doyle was playing in the first team throughout, he got injured, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I think if he'd been part of this, he would likely, I think, would have played of, let's say, the last 5 games, probably 3 of those 5. I think he is going to rotate a lot more. Now we get to the business end where it's a game every 3 days. You simply have to rotate, even if a player's in, if they're 90% condition, put them on the bench so that someone else, because that 10% makes a difference. That's how Sunderland did so well against us. Energy makes a huge difference at this level. I personally think I would take the towel right away.
Doyle and Casadei, obviously, you're looking at their clubs. We haven't got options to buy on either of them. One's Man City, one's Chelsea. Depending, they may look at it and go, God, if I go back to those, my parent club, I might never see the light of day again. So I'm better off stopping at Leicester. But it's a long season. We'll see what's going to happen.
All right, guys. Well, is there anything else? I think we'll wrap it up shortly. Is there anything else you guys want to add or say?
I just say, isn't it? I mean, I said this to the Sunderland fan on the preview show last week, who was on a bit of a downer. I almost had to apologise for being happy and cheerful. And it's like, I'm not being condescending. I'm not being awful by sat here talking to you with a huge big smile on my face. But as I'm going through the stats, I'm seeing how well we're doing this season. Just remember, 12 months ago, we were in their position.
Mate, it's hard not to be smug. We, like you said, we deserve it. Like, after what we've been through, like, just enjoy it, smell the roses a little bit, and it's only early and it's going to click more and more. So I think someone, like we said, is going to get a proper hiding soon. Again, I'm going 5-0 against QPR. Anil, what do you? Anything else you want to shout out, mate?
No, I agree with Chris. It's a very refreshing season. I've actually got a feeling that we should really enjoy this season, because next season it can't be as good as this. We were so lucky that we had the Premier League win as well, so we even have experienced it in the top flight, but it's very unlikely. And, one thing I would say that's really, I notice a lot actually, is that, like, even now when I watch a Premier League match, it's just how much top 6 bias there is, even in the matches. Like, if it's Brighton versus Man City, they just talk about Man City. It's like, do you realize there's like another team playing the game right now? It's insulting. So I actually think one of the refreshing things in the Championship is, even though we are getting a lot of smoke blown up our arse, I don't think it's unfair. Like, in most of the games, they are really talking about the other team. They're giving both teams like equal footage and stuff like that, which is important, right? Because it makes me think more and more like kind of conspiracy theory. But is the Premier League essentially just a product that was designed to elevate the the worldwide commercial appeal of the top clubs when the Premier League was created, which I think almost certainly was the case, and it's worked very well. But that's why, we'll go back up there, and you might find it a bit annoying. Like I have to say that Carabao Cup game against Liverpool, I mean, they literally didn't say anything about Leicester the whole game. There was one point, I think I said this in one of the previous casts, where we were 1-up, had more shots on target and slightly more possession, and the commentator, Sam Matapace, literally said Leicester have done nothing in this game. I was like, come on, man. That is the most blinkered view I've ever seen. Like, you can still say that, like, you expect Liverpool to win and be complimentary to them. But that's just, like, pathetic. So really enjoyed these games when they come. Let's see what happens. And, I can't remember the last time we played at Loftus Road, actually. Probably, I guess, the last time we were in the championship season. So that should be a good laugh.
Last time we played them was when we won the Premier League. No, we didn't. No, it was the Great Escape year.
Cambiasso, the 5-1 was it?
It was the last game of that
I was
season,
at that game.
5-1. What a game. I was there as well. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was Esteban's last game, though, wasn't it? That was the only sad thing about that game, is he came up after he scored, and you could just tell with the kind of reaction. You're like, oh, no.
I understand that why they took him off early, because obviously he was going. Gentleman, amazing. I can't believe I actually watched him play. The other thing, of course, is enjoy about this season, because it's going to change next season if we go up. No VAR.
That was my next thing I was going to close it out with. It is so nice when a goal goes in to just like celebrate and not like, wait for like, oh, did this happen? Did that happen? Was this some weird thing? You don't know. Like, but at the same time, though, like, every time the opposition scores against you, there's like that weird little like hope. It's like, oh God, I hope there's some strange VAR decision coming our way, which is probably unlikely.
We got away with one of those earlier in the season. Do you remember Rotherham scored off a corner and then they just like said, oh no, it's not a goal. And
that was a weird one.
Yeah, and to this day, I was like, oh, I mean, it looks like a goal to me, but we'll take it,
And the penalty, of course, against Sunderland.
Yeah, but then again, fair enough. Like like you said before, like you could have gone either way. Like Fatawu got, dropped in the box. I know it started outside, but but I didn't complain because of the fat phase one. I was just like, at first I watched that without phase one. I was like, oh, that's not too bad. And then like the more they replayed it, the worse it looked. So
exactly.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on, Anil. I really appreciate it, mate. You always come and drop knowledge. Chris, thank you so much. You've helped me out a lot over since I started this channel. So, thank you. I'm really happy with 100 subscribers. Thank you, everyone. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And check out Chris at LTIDTV at his YouTube. Look at his T-shirt. He's in the good books.
I'm not creeping. I'm not creeping at all.
And you can catch me on LTID for the watch along for the QPR game. And then I will probably do a batch roundup with Anton Ant's Leicester fan channel on Sunday, I believe. But yeah, everyone have a good weekend. And hopefully we come away with a big victory tomorrow.
Bye.
Catch you later.
Bye.